Good evening, colleagues, program director, my fellow board members, the SAMSA CEO, captains of industry, government counterparts, academia who's present today, distinguished guests, and of course the counterparts and partners who will be contributing to today's proceedings. We have over 60 people and counting on this call, and it is telling that we are having our PreSONA engagement digitally in this time of COVID, which speaks to the level of disruption and the level of change, and of course the level of agility that's required out of all organizations as we pivot and adjust to the way that the world has changed and the operational environment has changed. 2020 proved to be a challenging year for SAMSA and the maritime industry. For the maritime community, perhaps the most important thing that the crisis has taught us is the importance of the ocean to global and continental trading routes. As we kick off 2021, it is clear that the COVID-19 virus will stay on into this year, with the country beginning the year with a hard lockdown in an endeavor to curb the growing cases of the second wave. The global pandemic sparked a crisis within the seafarer community. At its height, impacting about 400,000 men and women, it is indeed welcome news that we closed off last year with 45 IMO member states, including South Africa, designating seafarers as key workers as part of key steps in resolving the ongoing crew change crisis. In partnership with the industry, we are pleased with our efforts finding long-term solutions towards meeting the IMO 2020 regulations. We are pleased that thus far, vessels calling at South African ports have demonstrated close to 100% compliance with the IMO 2020 regulation. January the 1st of 2021 also marked the start of trade under the African Free Continental Trade Agreement, where that will see more African resources traded within the continent, covering 1.2 billion people, with an estimated combined consumer and business spending amounting to $6.7 trillion in 2030. Increased intra-African trade has the potential to help diversify African economies that could see an increase in containerized trade and port traffic volumes. Our increased drive to see South Africa feature on the list of ship-owning countries becomes that much more important to capture the potential level of activity and keeps the rands and cents on South African shores. 4 months ago, I stood before you in Cape Town to announce our new SAMSA board and to give you our commitment to supporting the maritime industry. On that day, we had just completed a strategic session with SAMSA management to familiarize ourselves with the organization that anchors the aspirations of the sector. We are starting a process of contemplating whether the strategy we were starting a process of contemplating whether the strategy we had inherited was appropriate, realistic, and fit for purpose. Today, the SAMSA team is here to give you a more concise account on the state of the industry as well as on SAMSA's abilities and capabilities. A few weeks ago, the board received 2 directional guidelines from the Minister of Transport. 1 was to ensure a stable SAMSA, and 2, to ensure that SAMSA supports the government vision of building a developmental state, and in that context, ensure that SAMSA helps the sector grow and increase its contribution towards the national economy. Having understood all these imperatives, we have finalized a strategy that will deliver us closer to these outcomes. Our strategy calls for a well-resourced, properly governed, sustainable entity. First and foremost, SAMSA must discharge its regulatory obligation and build capacity to sustain its ability to do so. Through the assistance of SAMSA, an industry that is organized, growing, and engaged, in order that South Africa achieves its position of a recognized international maritime center is a key priority as well. The acting CEO is here to unpack the details of the strategy, save for perhaps 3 key matters as well. You will be aware that we are in the market for a permanent CEO for SAMSA. This is our first priority to stabilize the organization. 5 years is too long a time frame without a permanent CEO, and I wish to thank the EXCO team that has held SAMSA steady during this period. In terms of resourcing, during the COVID pandemic, we have had to contemplate a cash flow day zero at some stage. Although we have avoided this day, we are by no means clear of the water, much less financially sustainable. We are fortunate not to have to go to Treasury for a bailout, and I must recognize the Exco for this achievement. However, in order to stay afloat and sustainable, we have had to request an additional 5% tariff increase on top of the 6% already approved by the Minister with the concurrence of National Treasury. We also have to address SAMSA's 4 years of successive qualified audits. This is due to various internal weaknesses that the management team has developed an audit plan around to address and turn around, which will be tabled to the Minister. Partnership is at the heart of SAMSA, and the SAMSA partnership model has been utilized to deliver on the objectives of promoting the Republic's maritime interests. This has seen us create hundreds of jobs for rural youth. These are the partnerships that have seen us starting what is envisioned to be a long and steady growth of our ship registry. We will continue to leverage these synergies that exist between the industry, SAMSA, and government through dialogue. This year, we aim to have a few high-level structured dialogue, which the acting CEO will elaborate on. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2020 leg of the journey starts today for us. And I thank you all for continuing to show up for your part. I trust that together we can step into 2021 to co-create the course we need to chart in order to ensure that South Africa moves towards achieving its potential as an international maritime center. So let us continue with the program and let's dialogue. I thank you.